Welcome to the Dup Dive. Today, we're plunging into a world that really touches every single one of us, cybercrime. Often without us even realizing it, right? Our mission here is to cut through all the digital noise. We want to show you where cybercrime is most active, both here in the US and globally. And most importantly, really arm you with some practical, impactful ways to stay safe. We've pulled together quite a stack of crucial sources for this deep dive. The latest FBI reports, academic research, cutting-edge cybersecurity analyses, all sort of tailored to give you the insights that matter most.
Yeah, what's really fascinating, I think, in these reports isn't just where it's all happening. It's the patterns underneath it all. Why do certain regions become such prime targets? We'll definitely explore those dynamics, trying to give you a clearer picture of this digital battlefield.
Okay, let's start by pulling back the curtain on the U.S. landscape then. Some of these numbers might actually surprise you. Topping the list for cybercrime victims, and by a pretty big margin, is California. The data shows, get this, 96,265 reports. And the losses, colossal, $2.54 billion just in 2024.
Wow, that California number, it's genuinely eye-watering. And when we talk about a tech hub, it's not just, the big famous companies. It's the sheer volume of everything else. Startups, venture capital, individuals, all involved in these really lucrative, data-rich industries. This concentration just creates this massive attack surface, makes it fertile ground for, well, everything from IP theft to huge data breaches.
Exactly. And right behind California, we see Texas, second highest victim count, 62,347, losses around $1.35 billion. Here, the focus often seems to be the energy sector, critical infrastructure, that sort of thing.
And that's a really critical distinction, actually. California might be more about, say, data and intellectual property. But Texas, with its huge energy grid, industrial control systems, it draws a different kind of attacker. Often you're looking at nation-state actors, maybe highly organized groups, trying to cause disruption, not just steal cash.
So higher stakes targets in some ways?
Potentially, yeah. Less about individual bank accounts, more about large-scale, maybe destabilizing attacks.
Okay, then we shift gears a bit to Florida, which unfortunately grabs the top spot for identity theft reports. It's 528 per 100,000 people. And our sources point to a really distressing trend there.
Yeah, what really stands out for Florida, beyond just the sheer number of ID theft cases, is the specific targeting of retirement communities. We're seeing a big uptick in elder fraud, benefit scams. Criminals are exploiting trust, maybe people who are less tech savvy.
That's awful.
It is. And these aren't always super complex hacks,
Yeah.
Often it's social engineering at its worst, just preying on vulnerability.
Right. Okay, next up, New York. Big financial sector, obviously. So that makes it a hotbed for things like business email compromise, BEC scams.
Exactly. BEC. That's where criminals impersonate executives, trusted contacts, try to trick employees into sending money.
So even with fewer actual incidents than the top 3 states, New York's losses are still huge, $904 million.
Yeah, New York's numbers really show the impact of high-value targets, the financial industry there.
Yeah.
BEC scams especially are just incredibly profitable because they kind of bypass technical defenses. They go after human trust.
Manipulating people, not just systems.
Precisely. And the financial sector offers the biggest potential payouts for those kinds of schemes.
Okay, and rounding out this sort of top 5 for per capita fraud is Nevada, $400 per person. Given its economy, I guess it's no surprise the hospitality and casino industries are hit hard. Payment system breaches.
Yeah, Nevada is a classic case of criminals just following the money, or rather, the flow of transactions. Think about it. Millions of credit card swipes every day in casinos, hotels. It's a goldmine for payment system breaches. That leads to carding, selling stolen credit card info.
Carding, right.
The sheer volume means even a small vulnerability can result in just massive data theft.
So if we kind of connect the dots on these U.S. hotspots, there's a clear pattern emerging, isn't there? It's about concentration, wealth, sensitive data, maybe vulnerable populations.
Yeah, that's it exactly. It directly correlates with the activity we're seeing. Cybercriminals are incredibly efficient. They find where the reward is high and the risk seems lowest.
Okay. But it's definitely not just a problem here at home. Cybercrime is, well, truly global. Let's look at the World Cybercrime Index, see who's leading the charge internationally. According to our sources, Russia comes up first, leading in ransomware operations, state-sponsored hacking, developing malware.
And with Russia, it's often not just the volume, but the sophistication. Their state-sponsored groups are frequently behind some of the most advanced, most damaging global attacks, using their tech talent for, geopolitical goals as well as just profit.
Okay. Then Ukraine is highlighted. A major source for phishing infrastructure.
Uh-huh. The networks, the tools used to send those fake emails and messages,
Hmm.
and also for carding, like we mentioned before, trafficking stolen credit card details.
Hmm.
Ukraine's situation is, well, it's complex. They have this remarkably strong base of programmers, IT talent. But unfortunately, maybe a mix of economic factors and historically less robust law enforcement oversight
Mm-hmm.
means some of that talent gets pushed into illicit activities. It's created a pretty formidable cybercriminal ecosystem, especially for phishing and carding markets.
Right. Then there's China. Our sources say they dominate when it comes to state-sponsored IP theft
Okay.
and supply chain attacks.
Yeah, China's cyber activity often seems characterized by a more strategic, long-term focus. They aren't always just looking for quick cash. They're after industrial secrets, tech blueprints, strategic advantages.
And supply chain attacks sound particularly nasty.
They are insidious, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you compromise one trusted vendor, and suddenly you have access to potentially thousands of their clients downstream. It just amplifies their reach exponentially.
Wow. Okay, moving on. Nigeria takes a #1 spot for advance fee fraud. The classic Nigerian prince scams people joke about.
That's the one it's infamous for, yes. Those schemes promising big money for a small upfront payment. But they're also a major player now in business email compromise, BEC.
So evolving tactics there too.
Definitely. Nigeria, a bit like Ukraine in some ways, has this large entrepreneurial population. Huh. And while the vast majority are legitimate, of course, a segment has unfortunately specialized in these high-volume, often lower-tech scams that rely really heavily on social engineering. Psychological manipulation.
Not necessarily complex hacking.
Not always, no. And BEC scams are kind of a natural extension of that approach.
Gotcha. And finally, Romania. Our sources identify it as a key hub for ATM skimming.
Yeah.
Banking Trojans.
That's right. ATM skimming, where they attach devices to card readers to steal your data. And Banking Trojans, malicious software designed to grab your financial logins right off your computer.
So focused on direct financial theft.
Pretty much. Romania's prominence there often comes from, again, a mix of things. Strong technical skills within its criminal element, and perhaps in the past, a more permissive regulatory environment. They've really weaponized card and banking data theft.
Okay, so we've seen the global map. What does this all mean when we look at the bigger picture? Why these specific places? Why do they become hotbeds?
Well, our sources point to a few core drivers. First, economic factors. They play a huge role. In places like, say, Ukraine or Nigeria, you might have significant tech talent or just a large tool of people looking for opportunity, but maybe limited legitimate ways to make good money. And that can, unfortunately, push some towards illicit activities where their skills or their ingenuity are actually highly rewarded, just illegally.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's like a convergence of ability and, well, opportunity, but in a darker context.
Precisely. Second is infrastructure. Regions like Romania, for instance, might combine high internet penetration with maybe less robust cyber regulations or law enforcement capabilities.
Yeah.
That creates an almost ideal environment for cyber criminals to operate with less risk of getting caught or prosecuted.
Like building a highway with no speed limits or police.
Kind of, yeah. A good analogy.
And I imagine the targets themselves, where the money is, plays a role.
Absolutely. That's the third factor, target density. Wealthy economies, like those U.S. states we talked about, they just naturally attract profit-driven attacks. There's simply more money, more valuable data, more businesses to target, offers higher potential payouts. Criminals are, above all, opportunists.
It's a clear incentive structure, unfortunately. What else contributes to these hotspots?
The final key factor our sources highlight is anonymity. Some jurisdictions might have weak extradition ties with, say, Western nations, or just a less cooperative international legal framework. This effectively provides a kind of safe haven, makes it much harder for law enforcement elsewhere to bring criminals to justice.
Which only fuels more activity, presumably.
Exactly. It reduces the perceived risk significantly.
Okay. Understanding these root causes really helps see the whole landscape, doesn't it? Not just the symptoms of cybercrime. So we've mapped the threats, we've kind of understood the roots, but knowing the problem is only half the battle, right? The really crucial next step is, what can you, listening right now, do to fortify your own digital life? First, and this is maybe the most critical one, enable multi-factor authentication, MFA. That's when you use a second step to verify who you are beyond just your password, like a code from an app on your phone or a fingerprint.
Yeah, it's absolutely key.
The FBI reports that MFA blocks 99% of credential-based attacks. because even if someone steals your password, they still can't get in.
That 99% figure is just staggering. It really highlights how fundamental MFA is. It's your strongest single defense against someone just using your stolen login.
And a pro tip from our sources. Try to use authenticator apps, not SMS text messages, for that second factor.
Right, that's important.
Apps are considered much more secure. SMS can sometimes be intercepted through things like SIM swapping attacks.
Good point. Apps are definitely the way to go if possible.
Okay, number 2. Patch your systems weekly. Keep everything updated. 60% of breaches, according to the data we looked at, exploit known vulnerabilities, weaknesses that already have patches available. Regular updates are just non-negotiable. They close those security holes that criminals are actively scanning for, sometimes within hours of a patch being released.
This one gets overlooked so often, but it's like leaving your front door unlocked, isn't it? Attackers aren't always inventing crazy new ways in. They're often just checking for those known unpatched weaknesses. It's low-hanging fruit for them.
Totally. Okay, for your online browsing, always use encrypted connections. What does that mean? Well, using a VPN, a virtual private network, especially if you're on public Wi-Fi, it encrypts your traffic so people can't easily snoop on what you're doing.
Like a secure tunnel for your data.
Exactly. And always check for HTTPS, that little padlock icon in your browser bar, before you type in any sensitive info on a website. It ensures the connection between your browser and the site is encrypted.
Yeah, especially on public Wi-Fi. It's not really if someone might be watching, but when. HTTPS and VPNs make sure that tunnel is locked down tight.
Okay, this next one is absolutely vital, especially with those BEC scams we mentioned. Verify requests. If you get an urgent email, text, whatever, asking for a wire transfer or any big financial action, always call the sender to confirm. And use a phone number you know is theirs, one you already had, not one from the potentially dodgy email or message.
Yes, this is classic human firewalling. So important. Trust your gut. If something feels off or urgent in a weird way, take a minute. Verify, especially when money or sensitive data is involved.
That few minutes of verification can save you from potentially a catastrophic loss.
Absolutely.
Okay, another good one, freeze your credit reports. You can do this with the major bureaus, Equifax, Experian, TransUnion. It's usually free. This stops anyone from opening unauthorized accounts, like credit cards or loans, in your name. A common type of ID theft.
Yeah, it's a really proactive step. Puts you in control of your financial footprint. Ensures no one can open new credit lines without your explicit okay.
Good peace of mind. And finally, maybe monitor the dark web for your info. There are services, like Have You Been Prone is a popular one, that can tell you if your email address or passwords show up in known data breaches found circulating online.
It's a useful check.
If your credentials pop up, you know you need to change those passwords immediately before criminals can try using them elsewhere.
Yeah, and none of these are incredibly complex, super technical steps, are they? They're fundamental things, but they're highly effective. Actions you can take today, right now, to significantly cut down your risk.
Accessible to everyone.
Exactly. They really empower you.
Okay. And if, the unthinkable does happen, or maybe you just want to take another proactive step, find more info. There are resources out there designed to help. For folks in the U.S., you can report cybercrime to the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center. It's known as IC3. Just search for FBI IC3. If you happen to be listening in the UK, the reporting body is Action Fraud.
Good resources to know.
And for some really useful free security checkups and tools, things that can help you spot vulnerabilities and just strengthen your defenses generally, check out the Global Cyber Alliance. Their website is globalcyberalliance.org. They offer some fantastic, pretty easy-to-use resources for individuals and small businesses.
Yeah, they do great work. And look, knowledge really is power here. Just knowing these steps, knowing these resources exist, is a vital layer of defense in, today's digital world.
Yeah.
You have far more control over your cybersecurity than you might realize.
Absolutely. So you've just completed this deep dive with us into the fascinating, sometimes unsettling world of cybercrime. We've mapped those major U.S. and global hotspots, tried to uncover the driving forces behind them, and hopefully armed you with some essential, actionable strategies for protection. We really hope you feel more informed and definitely more empowered to navigate the digital landscape safely. And maybe just a final thought to leave you with. Consider this. In our world, which is just getting more and more connected, is personal cybersecurity now just as fundamental as, say, personal hygiene or financial literacy? What responsibilities do we as digital citizens truly have to ourselves and maybe even to each other in this new landscape? Something to think about.